mission for Israel. Now, this comes after multiple reports indicate that Israeli warplanes struck Syria and Syrian facilities over the weekend. Yesterday, a top Syrian official reportedly said this was, quote, a declaration of war by Israel. And while the Israeli government will not confirm nor deny the airstrike, an official told Fox News that the country is determined to prevent a transfer by the Syrian government of advanced weaponry to other regimes, and particularly terrorist groups like Hezbollah. Now, earlier, the White House responded to the reports. Watch.
Israel has, for a long time, been justifiably concerned about the transfer of sophisticated weaponry to Hezbollah. This is not just chemical weapons, but sophisticated weaponry to Hezbollah. And it is certainly within their right to take action to protect themselves.
Now, meanwhile, there are also reports that the Israeli military, in response to the escalating tension, has deployed 2 Iron Dome batteries in the north. And this potential airstrike is raising questions about what this means for us here at home and if the U.S. should have taken a greater role in addressing the crisis, especially after the president drew his little red line, his meaningless line in the sand. Joining me now with reaction, columnist, author, the one and only Coulter. How are you?
Fine, thank you. How are you?
That's our big fist pump. Well, the president drew the red line in the sand. It's funny, some idiot talk shows actually said that I was calling for war against Syria. No, I'm saying that if the president draws a red line in the sand,
right, and
then the person crosses the red line, right, that sends a pretty weak message that we're weak to our enemies, emboldens them, and it tells our allies that you can't count on us.
No, it's very embarrassing. I told someone today that the New York Times yesterday was reporting, the headline was, President's off-the-cuff remark creates problems with Syria. Oh, it's an off-the-cuff remark? I mean, this is more than just covering up. The media is now the Praetorian Guard to protect the president from the dumb things he does, including this. And, yeah, don't make the threat if you're not going to follow up.
Yeah, exactly.
But what he's more interested in, you know, when he's talking about, you know, the basketball player who comes out as gay, or he's talking about what his brackets are in college basketball, than paying attention to foreign policy. And this whole Syria situation, I mean, it is just one more addition to my book, Treason and Liberal Treachery from the Cold War to the War on Terrorism. Our country is always put in a more dangerous position after Democrats have been in the White House. I mean, no matter who comes in 3 years from now, we are going to be in a lot more trouble than we were, certainly when Bush left office, not only as Obama allowed Iraq to disintegrate, and that's a lot of the problem with Syria now. You have Iran trying to dominate Iraq and Syria to gang up together with Islamic lunatics. But we could have done something in Syria 2 years ago. This is what is so heartbreaking about Syria. When Assad first starts slaughtering his people, the insurgents were just normal Syrians minding their own business who are being murdered by this crazy dictator.
About 80,000.
If we had stepped in then, we would have been aiding people who are not Al-Qaeda, who are not Muslim Brotherhood. But no, Obama goes out and gets an ice cream, and who steps in? Al-Qaeda. Right, so now, it's like North Korea under Clinton. Now that we're in a pickle, now who do you help? The insurgents are allied with the Muslim Brotherhood.
But he's paralyzed because he can't acknowledge that terrorism even exists. So he's starting in a hole, because to get out of it, he's got to acknowledge a truth that he's been unwilling to acknowledge heretofore. Let me ask you about Benghazi. I think this could be the defining week of his presidency, yes, because we had incompetence before by denying the security that was requested, incompetence by not sending in the assistance that was also requested and required, and then, of course, the lies, the cover-up, and the scrub talking points that were actually right in the beginning that were done for political purposes.
Yes, and this ought to be a turning point for the media, too. I mean, this couldn't have happened if it were a Republican president, because the media would not have allowed a Republican administration to openly lie to the American people about the attack on our embassy, led by Muslim terrorists, being, just a spontaneous demonstration that was based on a videographer here in America, who, by the way, is still in prison.
Yeah.
He is still in prison. That whole big show about how, no, it was this American who had the YouTube video, and you had, Obama referring to it, Hillary Clinton referring to it. Remember, Hillary Clinton went up to a man whose son died and could have been saved after the initial attack on Benghazi, and said to him at his son's funeral, "Don't worry, we're going to get the guy who made this video."
One other thing I wanted to ask you about. The South Carolina Democratic Party chairman spoke at the Jefferson Jackson Democratic Party dinner and said he intends to help send Indian American Republican Governor Nikki Haley back to where she came from. Let's roll the tape.
Now, at this time, I'd like to introduce, now do I call him Senator or do I call him Governor Shaheen? What do I call him? And about 18 months from now, hopefully he will have sent Nikki Haley back to wherever the hell she came from. And this country can move forward.
Back to wherever the hell she came from. Imagine a Republican said that. This is the head of the Democratic Party.
No, a Republican would never say this. This is covered in my book, Mugged. All the racism, the Jim Crow laws, the slavery, this all came from the Democrats. Fortunately, Republicans now outnumber Democrats in the South, but you still get the vestiges of it with guys like this.
Unbelievable. Imagine a Republican said it. Be all over the place.
No Republican would say it.
I agree. No conservative.
This is classic Democrat behavior. I mean,
look,
remember...
Wait, we can go back. There are people in the Republican Party that say stupid things.
Stupid things, but the racism is endemic to the Democratic Party. You had, I mean, just casually recently, Biden talking about Obama being clean and articulate, and Clinton saying, oh, a few years ago he would have been getting my suitcase, and Harry Reid saying he's not, oh, it's so wonderful that he can speak, he doesn't speak in a Negro dialect unless he wants to. No Republican on earth would ever say those things. But Democrats think, oh yes, but we have you all on welfare and have destroyed the black family in America, so we don't owe you anything else. Just keep voting for us and don't expect us to do anything for you, black Americans.
Coulter, great to see you.
Great to see you.
The Washington Post reported yesterday that Trump ally Ben Carson is playing a key role in mending fences with Ryan, the Speaker, and that Carson has also requested his own meeting with the Speaker in advance. He's sort of an advancement on this meeting. The meeting will come after a spokesperson for the Trump campaign said that Ryan was unfit to be Speaker, and after Sarah Palin called for Ryan's defeat in the Wisconsin primary this summer. I'm joined right now by MSNBC political analyst Robert Costa of the Washington Post, Republican strategist Steve Schmidt, as well as conservative columnist and author Ann Coulter, who's got a new book out, In Trump We Trust. That comes out this summer. We'll have you on when the book comes out, Ann, if you wish. Let me go to all three of you in this order. What is the nature of this meeting? I don't like meetings. I don't know what they accomplish, but they seem to have a ritual value, Robert Costa. By the way, Washington is a continuous meeting, so this doesn't excite me or threaten me. Is Trump coming in as the job applicant to seek the approval of the Washington big shots, or is he coming in as the boss? Which is it?
Based on my report, and I've spoken to people close to Ryan and close to Trump, they hope to come to some kind of consensus on what the party's principles are and whether there can be agreement on that moving forward. And by that, I mean there's not going to be a heavy discussion on policy. This isn't about litmus tests. This isn't about whether they can agree on immigration and trade. It's whether they can have unity.
But Trump has been speaking now for a year on what he thinks of policy. Don't they pay attention? Don't they have transcripts? Why? And you're laughing. Why do they have to ask him? Obviously, they didn't like what they heard, and they want to hear something else, Ann.
No, I think you're absolutely right. I think it shows that Trump is being unbelievably gracious. He doesn't need to have this meeting. He is the party. He is the heart and soul of the party. And, I mean, I think he could have just said, hope he comes aboard. We're going to have a lot of fun, but if he doesn't, oh well. So, no, I think it's very nice, but I don't think he should waste a lot of time on these meetings going forward. He has a general election to run, but the people are with him, and there's no point in meeting with all these generals without armies.
And to tease your book, what's the best line in it? I know you remember it. What was the best line you wrote in your book, In Trump We Trust, that's coming up?
I'm writing it right now.
So you don't have the best line yet.
But I might quote you. You were right about Manafort. You and I think maybe one other person on TV were the only ones in media who were not utterly contemptuously dismissive of Trump.
Yeah. Well, let's go back to Steve. I'm not contemptuous because I'm trying to figure him out. I think he's a mixed bag like most people are, and I'm trying to figure him out. Steve Schmidt, this meeting, what do you make of this meeting? I mean, Washington loves this stuff. A meeting. They go behind closed doors. They come out, holding hands. They go in angry. They come out happy, as if there's a value in this meeting. When you all know, we all know, they're going in, they're coming out the same way. You're thinking. That's my thinking.
Look, the Republican voters all across this country spoke, and they let it be known their absolute contempt for the Republican establishment and the elected Republican leadership in Washington, D.C. So Donald Trump arrives to this meeting as a conqueror of the status quo Republican political order over the last generation. Now, this meeting is important because I think there's an open question. Can a party led by Donald Trump, the Republican Party, can it survive? It's the majority party at the governor level, at the U.S. Senate, at the House level, at the state legislative level, and it's a conservative party. Not all of Trump's positions are conservative, and he has a pragmatic reason to try to do everything he can to try to come out of this meeting with unity from the speaker, from others who say we don't agree on everything. But what Trump needs to do to be able to win this election, he's got to have a unified Republican Party. He's got to do well with independents, and he's got to pick up his fair share of conservative working-class Democrats in states like Pennsylvania and Ohio and Michigan in order to be able to win. So
well, the numbers show he's getting close. Anyway, the Trump campaign confirmed to NBC News that it released, well, I do rely on the prompter, a video attacking Clinton over Benghazi. The video uses interviews with the families of the victims. It looks a lot to me like swift boating. Anyway, it contains elements that may be offensive to some viewers. I have to say that, but here it is.
We've seen rage and violence directed at American embassies over an awful internet video.
She lied to me. She told me it was the fault of the video.
She said, we are going to have the filmmaker arrested who was responsible for the death of your son.
So she did say to you that the Benghazi attack was caused by protests?
Absolutely. Well, I don't know why that's funny.
Well, we all know how editing works. Robert Costa having Hillary Clinton, whatever you say about any of this stuff, and I think it's problematic, but anyway, having Hillary laughing like mad at a tragedy which cost the life of an actual friend of hers, Chris Stevens, the ambassador, as well as the other Americans, I think that is what it is. Editing, and it's malicious, but is this thing going to work?
My sources close to Trump tell me that Trump has dozens of these videos ready to go on different fronts regarding Secretary Clinton, and they're often hard-hitting, incendiary images, audio blended together. This is the Trump campaign style. On one hand, they're trying to reach out to movement conservatives like Paul Ryan in official Washington, but when it comes to social media, Instagram, they're playing at a lower level and trying to really incite voters and get conservatives excited who may not have been.
Yeah, I don't buy the idea that the end justifies the means, but sometimes it accomplishes the end. The means does, and I've seen this with Dukakis in '88. I saw it with John Kerry. You can destroy an opponent with a good...
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.